Michaela Vernava for Nesson.com here on Radio Row, and I'm joined now by Greg Jennings, wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins. Greg, thanks for talking with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, the New England Patriots are not here at Super Bowl week, to many New England fans' dismay, and arguably the Miami Dolphins played a big role in that by routing them in the final week of the season. What went down in that game? What were you guys able to do to beat the Patriots?
Well, let me retract that statement. We didn't rout them. We definitely did. But we did
beat them.
We did beat them, and I think it played a huge role simply because they could have gotten home field advantage, and I think that would have played a huge role in the Denver championship game with Denver having to go to Foxborough versus them having to go out to Denver and play, and but hey, what can I say? I'm sorry. No, it is what it is. I mean, the better teams are here, and that's no disrespect to the Patriots. They've been great over the past decade, and they have a great organization. They do things the right way, but it just wasn't their year this year.
Well, earlier you told CBS Sports that Ryan Tannehill has been babied by your coaches, and now I'm curious if you could give us an example of that.
Well, I think he's been baby. He's been handheld. He's been handheld his entire career, and when you're trying to establish whether or not a guy is a franchise guy, you have to let him make his own mistakes, and I just don't feel like that has been the case. When you have a guy who he is very smart, and he has skill set that I believe we haven't seen because he hasn't been given that liberty to just do and go and say, Ryan, go ahead, play. Let's see what you're like. Make the checks, make a couple 2-minute play calls, like give him the reins, untighten the leash, if you will, like loosen the leash. And that just hasn't happened. And I've been with him for a year, and I know how he feels about it. I know he wants more ownership. He wants more liberty to do different things, and I think hopefully this year will be that year.
Yeah, well, you guys are under new leadership now, a new head coach. What do they have to do differently then to let Tannehill progress and develop in the way that he needs to?
Well, I think it's just what I mentioned. It's allow him to make mistakes, and I think that's the case with any player that has the potential. And I do not like using that word because it's a word that lets people know that nothing's manifested yet, and we're waiting. But he has that potential, and it's all about letting him to see if he can do it or not. And he's had good years. He hasn't had any great years, but this year it took a step back. And when you're looking at trying to find a franchise guy, you got to be willing to allow that guy to make his own mistakes and to live with those mistakes if they're made.
Well, now you said they need to let the leash out a little bit, give him a little more freedom. We had heard rumors about Tannehill, a little bullying of some players in practice. I'm curious what type of a leader he is. Was that a case of frustration of him not being given the freedom to make the mistakes that he needs to?
Yeah, that was definitely something that I'm to this day, I'm like literally right now scratching my head how that even got out to the media. But it was a leadership moment, kind of a moment that could have been handled differently, but just again a young team needing to understand how to practice on a Friday, on a Saturday. Things like that happen. But he definitely has the leadership skills that a quarterback needs and that an organization and a team needs at that position.
You say it could have been handled differently. Should he have handled it differently?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're the guy and things don't pan out correctly, you have to look at yourself. You have to self-assess and say, I could have handled things differently.
Did any of the players talk with him after that and say, hey, this should have been handled differently, maybe given him some advice?
No, I mean, I think we all talked with everyone, and again, I'm again scratching my head on how that even got out, but it wasn't that what we're even talking about. It wasn't even that big of a deal. I think just the fact that it was Ryan and it was in London. I mean, it is what it is. It's water under the bridge, if you will.
So now, what changes? What are the major changes you guys need to make in the off season to make sure your team is on track for a good season coming up?
I don't even know where to start. I mean, there are a lot of changes that have to be made, and not so much. And I say that in a respectful way, but I think it starts with what they've done with the coaching changes, and I love, I'm a Joe Philbin guy. I love Joe. Obviously, it didn't work out. Coach Campbell, Dan, you are the man. Just that Coach Dan Campbell, he did what he could do, but it wasn't. It was already done. The damage had already been done. But I think they're doing the right things with coaching changes and trying to establish who we are as an organization, as a team. The identity has to be established from day one.
Well, I know that you do have a cool YouTube channel. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Jennings Journey. Family League. Subscribe to Family League. You can follow us, and you can watch the show. You can go to gj85.com, click on the YouTube link below, and find out who these guys are. Amaya Leah Avon Ace, and my wife and I. And it's authentic, it's genuine, it's us capturing footage of one another. Real life family, real life stuff. There's no camera crew. It's genuine. It's authentic.
Well, from talking with you, you do seem authentic and genuine, so I bet it is a good show.
Thanks. I appreciate it.